everybody, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you what I'm doing for One Book July of 2022, and I'm going to be calling it One Project July, my book transcription project. So if you don't know what One Book July is, I will link down in the description below the videos of the creators of this challenge or this project down below, so you can see what they're doing for this year. But from my understanding after watching those videos, it's going to be a free-for-all. And that means whoever is joining this One Book July can basically do whatever they want. There's no rules. And I'm not going to be planning in one book like it seems to imply. I'm going to be just doing a project of my own, and hopefully in this one notebook. So what I'm doing for this project is I'm going to be transcribing this book. And I'm going to be transcribing it with my fountain pens and my fountain pen inks into this notebook here. Now, this book is by Agatha Christie, and it's called The Murder at the Vicarage. As you can probably tell, it's like a murder mystery book, and it was published in 1930, and it's set in England. So the reason I picked this book was because it's fairly short, you can see here, and it's the first book that features one of the kind of most beloved characters in the Agatha Christie world, since she has written a lot of murder mystery books. And the character that I'm talking about is Miss Marple. So this is the very first book where she shows up. Now, my inspiration for doing this project actually came from another YouTuber, and her name is Mystery. Her YouTube channel is called Mystery Arts. I will link to her video as well because she's done a ton of videos showing what she's done. And the book that she transcribed at the beginning was actually this book called Watership Down by Richard Adams. And it is one of my favorite books of all time. So I considered really heavily about whether or not I wanted to transcribe this book. You can see how well loved my copy of this book is. So I thought I'd start off with a smaller, shorter book, see how I like it. And then in the future, I might transcribe this book. I did borrow this book from the library, so that's why there's some tape here to block out the name of the library and the barcode, things like that. I'm going to put this book down for a second, and I'm going to show you the notebook that I'm going to use. Now, this is from Taroko Design, and they're based in Taiwan. This is their Odyssey notebook. So hopefully you can see the print here, but it's black on black. It's their Odyssey notebook. It has 183 or 184 pages, and they're numbered with a 5mm dot grid. This uses the Cosmo Air Light paper, which is a newish paper to me. This is the first notebook that I've bought with this paper. So I have heard it was fountain pen friendly, and that's why I bought it. So I'm hoping to transcribe the entire book into this one notebook. For the start, I just took the cover page and kind of taped over it because it originally had a space for your name and your address and telephone number, which doesn't really apply for this notebook. So I did print it out on my computer, the title of the book, and then the author. At the bottom, I'm probably going to write the start date that I started writing in here and the end date. On this page, we have the index. So I like that this notebook has numbered pages on the bottom here, and it does have an index. So I'm going to be taking for each chapter, I'm going to be writing with the fountain pen that I write for the chapter. And then I'm going to put the date that I started writing. And I'm going to put the page number where the chapter starts. There's the second page of the index. And as you can see from the ghosting here, I've already started writing. For each chapter, what I originally wanted to do was to write down the chapter name. So here I've penciled it out in using a stencil. So let me just show you the stencils. This I got from the dollar store. It came in a set of 3. So the bigger character here with a C, I used this stencil. And then the smaller one, I used this. And then underneath it, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to use a stamp. Now I have here a collection of stamps that I think would work with this project, and I'm going to show them to you right now. This is the first set of stamps that I have. They are acrylic stamps. I got them off of Etsy from a store called Stamps and Sealed Co. But I do believe that there are many different stores which sell the same type of acrylic stamp. what I originally planned to do is to shuffle through all of these stamps, put them at the beginning of each chapter, and then write down the pen name and the ink name. Here's another stamp that I might use. This is a really cute one from the Ghost Shop, and it's a picture of one of their characters. It's a French bulldog holding a fountain pen. And if you can see the image here, it looks like a Kaweco fountain pen. Next up, I have here a rubber stamp, and I don't remember exactly where I got this from, but I can try to link it below. And as you can see, it just looks like the top of a memo pad, and it's got a fountain pen here. I think this is a nice place to put even the date, and then at the bottom here you can write whatever you want. Then the last stamp I have here is from Midori, and it's one of their self-inking stamps. So this is the only stamp I have that actually is already pre-inked. And as you can see, there's a little ink bottle here, some lines for me to write down perhaps the ink name, and of course an illustration of someone holding a fountain pen. We'll come back to this cover page later. Let me show you what I've been writing. So here's chapter 1. What I've done for the start of each chapter is I've just written down in black ink the name of the chapter. And there's no chapter titles, so it's just chapter 1, chapter 2, and so forth. I just used my regular handwriting, which is like a combination between print and cursive. I like using it for my everyday writing because this is the way I can write faster. And I thought about trying to write this entire book in cursive. I can do it, but the thing is, I don't enjoy looking at my own. I would rather look at some writing in my own preferred handwriting, I guess, even if it's not that great handwriting. I like the look of it. I like the look of a page that's completely filled with my own handwriting and in a color that I like. And actually, that's why I picked this color. This one is a beautiful kind of blue color, and it's got a bit of shading. So where is the ink? The ink is actually a sample, and it is Monteverde 2020 DC Super Show Classic Blue. That's a mouthful, but it is a really pretty blue. It's the first time I use this ink on this book, so I wanted to start off this book using some samples that I have in the hopes of using them up. And you can see, I think this bottle was pretty full when I started, but it's more than halfway done. The pen that I use for writing this is a Lamy pen. This is their CP1. I've had this pen forever. This is one of the very first fountain pens that I ever got, and it was given to me by my dad. Now, the reason why I picked this pen was because I'm listening to the Goulet Pencast, and I'm actually maybe a month or so behind, but one of their features or one of their segments in their podcast is called a Pen Spotlight, and they spotlighted the Lamy CP1 in a recent podcast. Recent to me, not recent to right now. So I decided, hey, I have a CP1. I might as well use it. It has got a fine nib. And the thing with this fine nib is it's a very wet fine nib. It writes more like a medium. And I really like the medium type nib, the way that my handwriting looks. So I'm pretty glad that this fine writes more like a medium. I do like this pen a lot, mainly because I've had it for so long. But the thing is, it is hard to write for long periods of time with this pen. And even writing these pages that I'm about to show you, you do kind of get tired of that, holding this pen and writing for that long. But what can you do? For me, this ink is really beautiful. It does have a bit of shading. I think it has some sheen, but I don't really see this on this paper. And you could see that after about 3.5 pages, I'm already done with the first chapter. And then we start with chapter 2. Then chapter 2 goes on for 1, 2, 3. So about 4.5 pages, or almost 4.5 pages. And I'm going to bring this book back and show you the number of total chapters. There are 32 total chapters. So I was thinking All of these chapters are so short. Like, look at chapter 31. It's not even an entire page. And then you get to chapter 2. I didn't quite realize that when I started writing in here. At first, what I was going to do was one chapter, one pen, and one ink. And then for the next chapter, a new pen and a new ink. So I could have 32 total pens and 32 total inks. Or maybe at least 32 total inks. And I definitely have enough of that. But since the chapters are pretty short, I decided to do at least 2 chapters per pen and ink. And that brings me back to the cover page, which I haven't finished. What I might have to do is write down chapter 1 and 2, and then write down the pen and ink for those 2 chapters. But then I was thinking, if I were to dedicate a cover page for every 2 chapters like this, I might run out of pages in the notebook. So let's see. This book here has 106 pages, and I have 184 pages, if I remember correctly. And that may not be enough for me to have 1 cover page per every 2 chapters, plus all of the writing, and then have everything in one book. What I'm going to have to do on this cover page then is I'm going to have to write chapter 1 and 2, and then after that, I will put my little stamp and then write down the pen and ink. Then on the bottom half of this page, I will maybe put chapters 3 and 4, then put the new pen and the new ink. The thing is, if I did it this way, then it wouldn't make sense to have a cover page every 4 chapters. It would better to have this kind of cover page, all of them, at the beginning of the notebook, and then continue writing with the pages. But since I've already done this setup, then I have no choice to do that. And it might be a little weird, but I suppose that will have to do. If I get to chapter 3 here, should I really start chapter 3 at the bottom, or should I just make a new page and write chapter 3 at the top? And again, I want to conserve pages so I can get all the entire book into this one notebook. For the outline of this chapter using the stencil, I am going to be using a ballpoint pen. This one is the Hobonichi pen, so it uses Uniball Jetstream ink. And that's because it dries pretty fast and it's waterproof, so I can color in the ink inside pretty quickly. Otherwise, I'd have to wait. While I'm outlining the chapter number with the stencil and stamping, what I want to do is quickly discuss the paper as I've experienced it so far. This is the Cosmo Airlight paper. I like the paper. It feels very smooth when I'm writing, maybe a hint of feedback, and the feeling of the paper, at least under my fingers, reminds me of the Leuchtturm 1917 paper, and I like that paper. I didn't mention the ink that I used to stamp it, but you can see it on the top of the pad. It says it's the VersaFine ink, and it's the Onyx black color. And I do like this ink. It is waterproof and very nice and crisp and clear, but it does tend to bleed through paper. And I will see if it bleeds through this paper. Oh, it didn't, which is great. So now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to color it in. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. What I plan to do for July is at least update you maybe halfway through the month and just flip through and show you how I'm doing with the project. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.